Hello, ladies. Okay, so on this video, we're going to establish what are boundaries. And because I have learned from lots of different experts what boundaries are, I got a little bit from Judith Orloff. You know, if you're an empath, I really recommend you to read Judith Orloff and Judith Orlov and Judy Daya. She's also an empath expert. She's written a lot of books and they're all amazing. And I also learned a lot about boundaries from my friend Jen Turner, who is a coach for high empath and highly sensitive people. And thanks to her, I realized that I was an extroverted empath and that there was such a thing because her niche was extroverted empath and highly sensitive people. I was like, so there is such a thing. I was so happy to meet her. So I learned a lot from her, and she was the key for me to not only learn boundaries with dating, because I have become really good about placing boundaries around friends and dating and things like that, but also to learn to place boundaries with my family, which was, my biggest cause of stress in my life. And it was like what really used to really drain me. It was my family. So she was really the person, my friend Jen, that really helped me with boundaries within the family. So I've mixed all of the definitions together. So I'll read them to you, and I made my own little bit of definition for us to bear in mind when we are dating. Okay, so a boundary is a visible line that separates two people. Boundaries teach other people how to treat us. Okay, this is why, like, we don't tell people that we are high value. We show people that we are high value with our boundaries. This is what is going to make the difference between a high value lady and a doormat. It's the boundaries is what's going to separate us and put us apart in the good high value pile. Okay, so this is how you show people that you are high value. You show them with your boundaries, because boundaries teach other people how to treat us. The way we treat ourselves, people are going to treat us. A boundary is anything that defines a limit. Psychological limits define a person's dignity. When we say you have crossed the line, that line refers to the limit to the behavior that has caused us harm. An emotional, psychological, or physical harm. If a person crosses our boundaries, they proceed to cause us harm. Therefore, a person that does not respect our boundaries, it's a bad person, because they don't care about hurting us. And this, I'm going to repeat for you, okay? I want you to repeat after me. A person that crosses our boundaries, they proceed to cause us emotional, psychological, or physical harm. Therefore, that person is a bad person, okay? This person is not going to be allowed into our mansion, okay? Because there might be a little thief and they just, want to run out of the window with the TV. So they're no person, no grata in our mansion. We're only going to allow people that respects our boundaries. And this is, okay, we're going to try to say this without crying, okay? So this is very, very, very important. So it happens that is not 100% of the case, because I know beautiful empath women that have got beautiful, beautiful, beautiful families. But it was my case that I didn't have a beautiful family. So I grew up with no boundaries because it was not in the best interest of my family that I had boundaries, because my family benefited from me not having boundaries, because like this they could use me and control me and have me in a very tight leash. If I ever said no to my mother, I would get the wrath. Okay. And my mother, she is a covert narcissist. And my father was not any better, because I don't know what my father was, but he was an alcoholic, you know, and he was like he didn't exist really, you know, he was just there, but he wasn't. He was like he wasn't there. So it was mainly my mother, and she was a covert narcissist. So like her main thing was to control, dominate me, and you know, make my life a misery, because I was that narcissistic mothers don't love their daughters and they see them as competition. So there, she saw me as an adversary to her. So we were never in the same team. So I always, for my entire life, you operate like you are, you know, you are family, you are in the same team, but actually, she was not my family. She was never in my team. She was always working against me, and you know, so I didn't have a very good childhood. I didn't have, like, can you imagine when I turned into a teenager, it was war. I was also very rebellious, so I didn't care that she would beat me up. I didn't care, like, I would do whatever I wanted, and then I would take up the beating, and I was that kind of a person. So and also my family, because when you have a narcissistic parent, it's very difficult for the children to rebel against them. Like I was like a really a strange case in this scenario. Normally the children, they are very compliant because they are scared of that if they don't comply, they're going to be abandoned, which I also have that fear of abandonment, but I was a bit more of a rebel, you know, because I was so unhappy that I always, when my mother threatened that she was going to put me in this delinquent children's home, she always used to threaten. I used to say, bring it on, because I will be happier with the delinquents. I will be happier in any setting that I am in this house, you know, like the delinquents will be a breath of fresh air. And then bring it on, I'll become a delinquent. I was quite happy to become a delinquent. In that meant to run away from my family. I ran away lots of times from my home. I took up a lot of beatings. So I grew up in like, this was love. So, and my father was an alcoholic, so it didn't exist, it didn't give me any attention. So I didn't receive any love from my father, and that was love. Somehow, in a very screwed up way, that was love. So when I became a teenager and I started dating and I started to have relationships, they say that you end up dating the person from your family that whose love you crave the most. So I basically started to date my mother, and I started to date other covert narcissist men. And because they were loving me in the same way that my mother was loving me, coercing me, controlling me, you know, keeping me in a tight leash, like the guy was keeping me in a tight leash, I felt so wonderful. That he wanted me and he was so possessive of me. That felt like I always used to feel so loved. This is like a very screwed up way of loving, because actually that is not love at all. Like if you love someone, you would respect their boundaries, you would never harm them, and you would never, you know, be that kind of a possession You want to see them grow and flourish and be happy, you know. And obviously, my boyfriends or my ex-husband, nobody that I've ever dated, were, you know, having this behavior with me. But also, I wasn't aware of it. To me, they were like fantastic because they were keeping me in a tight leash, just like my mother was. So I want you, have, if you are so unlucky that you have got any toxic people in your family, just like my mother was, or even my dad, you know, he was a narcissist, he was an alcoholic, so he wasn't much better. So, you know, so you might have a very twisted understanding of what love is and how to love a person. And I'm sure you are not that kind, you are not going to give that kind of love, but you are certainly taking in a kind of behavior from relationships that do not equal love, because love is also freedom. Love is not control. Love is not, you know, keeping you in a tight leash. Love is to take the other person as a part of your own. So you wouldn't be able to hurt that other person, because to hurt the other person would be to hurt yourself. So I just wanted to make this very clear as we continue on what are boundaries and why it's so important that we need them, and why it's so important that as empaths, you know, are very clear in this definition. There are a lot of empath women that end up in very bad relationships, that end up being physical violent relationship, most of domestic violence. Like the woman, it's might be an empath or she's highly empathetic. And so if we put boundaries from the very, very, very beginning, there is no chance in hell you will ever end up in one of these relationships. And if you are a person that are already trauma bonded, because this is the way, having boundaries, it's going to be your first step to heal your trauma bond, so that you never bond with any person that is also trauma bond. Okay, so you need to heal your trauma bond, you need to heal your attachment style and boundaries. It's going to be hell. It's going to be really hard. It's going to cause you physical pain to put boundaries, but it's never going to hurt so much as ending up in a toxic relationship with a bad person. Okay, and when I say bad people, it might be, you know, a bad boy that wants to take advantage of you. He just wants you to have sex for the night. Is going to help keep you out of toxic people, toxic friendships. When I turn around and I put everything in place, I'm starting to put boundaries. Guess what? My friends started to drop like flies. They're not. They're no longer they wanted to be my friends, because they no longer could take advantage of me. So I lost a lot of friends. So you must have, thank goodness that we are the most courageous people in the world, and that's right, because you would like be so scared to put in boundaries because you're scared to lose the people. But know this, you will never lose people that are good for you, people that love you, people that want good things for you. You will only lose the people that are bad people, that want to take advantage of you, that want to use you, that want to suck on your energy, that want to, you know, they're a narcissist and psychopath. They're like out of the way. You know, Ted Bundy, how he was going to, about getting his victims, he would play victim himself and he was like pretend that he was lost and see who was going to help them. But guess what? What most of Ted Bundy's victims were empaths, because a woman of high value, remember, you are a mansion, a high value mansion, sees a person in a dodgy car in a dark street corner, and he goes, excuse me, guess what? A person that has good boundaries and thinks of herself like a really high value person, is not gonna stop for that guy. You pick up your pace and you carry on working until you get to a light up place or until you get home. You don't stop to like see what this person wants. But an empath that always puts others in front of them is always going to prioritize the well-being of others rather than your own well-being, is going to be the person that goes, yes, how can I help you? And you become, you know, the prey of bad people. So I don't want anyone to become to be praised anymore. Okay, we are mansions, we are very high value, and we are going to prioritize ourselves and our well-being, and we are going to do this through boundaries. And in the next video, I'm going to tell you how. See you in the next video.